As we get closer to the start of the 2023 college football season, takes are getting bolder and crazier. At this time of year, everyone is optimistic about their team, about their new quarterback, or that one transfer who could save the program. There are a lot of crazy takes going around, and in today's video, I'm going to give some crazy bold predictions of my own about the Big Ten Conference. We're going to go through each and every school in the Big Ten, and I'm going to give a crazier bold take and explain why I think that. Obviously, I don't believe every single one of them, and in most cases, it's not what I actually think will happen, but they are bold takes nonetheless, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first school we're going to talk about is Indiana. The Hoosiers had a good season in 2020 and had a couple of really good players, but since then, the well has gone dry. Not a single Hoosier heard his name called in the 2023 NFL Draft, but I think it's going to change in 2024. My bold take is that Andre Carter becomes a national All-American. He's a transfer from Western Michigan and has been consistently ranked as one of the top transfers in the country, and from what I've heard so far, has absolutely dominated on the defensive line, and some think he could be the best player on the defensive side of the ball in years. I think he'll become a national All-American and a potential day 1 or 2 draft selection. That's my bold take for the Hoosiers. Rutgers was honestly kind of difficult, as they just have not been very good over the last few years, and there's not a whole lot to talk about with them. That's why my bold take is that Gavin Wimsatt finally delivers on his potential and becomes a top half quarterback in the Big Ten. I know it's kind of a lame bold take, but it is pretty dang bold. The Rutgers quarterback spot has been awful, and so has Wimsatt. He was a top 10 quarterback in the class of 2022 before he reclassified to 2021, and has really struggled for them. He has more potential than any other quarterback at Rutgers in the last decade or so, and my bold take is he'll deliver on it and become a top 7 QB in the conference. Switching over to Northwestern, I think it's going to be a rough year for them. New head coach David Braun has taken over after being promoted from defensive coordinator, and my bold take is they have the same record as 2022. In case you aren't familiar with how they did last year, the team beat Nebraska in week 0 and then lost every single game. They went 1-11 and even lost to an FCS in-state school in Southern Illinois. It was an absolutely embarrassing season for Northwestern, and I think they win one game in 2023. The best chance for that? Well, it's either to come at home against UTEP or home against Howard. More than likely it comes at home against Howard, but I can't see them beating any team in the Big Ten, and honestly it wouldn't surprise me if UTEP takes care of them. Over the last few years, Purdue has really been able to do a good job at the quarterback spot. Their quarterbacks have really been able to sling the rock, and with recent players such as David Blau, Jack Plummer, and Aiden O'Connell, I think the quarterback spot will be in great shape this year as Ryan Walters takes over and Hudson Card comes in from Texas. He was one of the top Texas high school quarterbacks of the last decade, and with Graham Harrell as the new offensive coordinator at Purdue, combined with their track record, my bold take is that Hudson Card actually leads the Big Ten in passing yards. No, that doesn't mean he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten, but I think statistically, he could do that. With Paul Chryst getting fired, Wisconsin decided to move in a new direction and hired Luke Fickell away from Cincinnati. This is a coach who's already gotten to the college football playoff and is one of the top young minds in the country, and now with an influx of great transfers, great tradition, and a great culture, Wisconsin I think is going to bounce back and potentially have an insane season. They have a star quarterback in Tanner Mordecai and a star running back in Braylon Allen, and the offensive line and defense is never an issue, so I think Wisconsin wins the West in year 1 and beats Ohio State at home. I know all the Ohio State fans are going to go crazy down in the comment section below, but it's just a bold take, and this could definitely be a trap game for the Buckeyes and could be a signature win for Fickell. In a way, it would also be somewhat of a revenge game for him, and while it probably won't happen, that is my bold take for Wisconsin. Staying in the Big Ten West, we're going to talk about Minnesota. PJ Fleck is now in hot water after some allegations, but I still think he'll be the head man when the season rolls around, and while those issues will probably be in the rearview mirror, this year's team is going to be interesting. I don't think Minnesota is that great, and don't confuse me for being a Minnesota hater, but it seems like they've had the same few players on offense the last 4 years, and after exhausting all their eligibility, they now have to start fresh. They have to figure out a new quarterback, figure out a new running back, find a go-to receiver, rebuild most of the offensive line, and bank on the defense being good. Because of that, my bold take is that Minnesota actually misses a bowl game this year and they finish 6th in the Big Ten West. The Minnesota fans will probably try to kill me down in the comment section below for this, but right now, Minnesota has a lot to figure out, and while they'll probably end up winning 8 or 9 games, I have my doubts about the Golden Gophers, and that is my bold take for them. One of my favorite new coaching hires in college football is Matt Rhule in Nebraska. I was always a huge fan of him at Temple, especially when he had that amazing team in 2015, and then what he did at Baylor. I was upset when he went off to the NFL, but after flaming out with the Panthers, he has now been hired by the Huskers to be the new head man to replace Scott Frost. Typically with Matt Rule, his team does awful in the first year and then has an insane second season, but my bold take is that Matt Rule skips all of that and makes a bowl game in year one at Nebraska. I think he has a really talented quarterback in Jeff Sims, has a couple of really good dynamic skill players, and just overall knows how to get the best out of his players. And with him being in the Big Ten West, I think Nebraska can pull off 6 wins. That is my bold take for the Huskers, and that would be a huge step in the right direction for that program. Michigan State shocked the world in 2021 when they became the Cinderella story of that season. With Peyton Thorne at quarterback and their superstar running back Kenneth Walker, the Spartans had a couple of big wins, including that ginormous upset against Michigan at home, and it looked like Mel Tucker was the next big thing in college football. Unfortunately, last year the Spartans ended up missing out on a bowl game as they went 5-7 and had a couple of humiliating losses. Things were not the same for Sparty last year, but I think this year it's going to get back on track. They right now have a quarterback battle between Noah Kim and Catton Hauser, and in my opinion, if Hauser wins that starting job, I think Michigan State is back. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks Michigan State has seen in recent memory, and in my opinion, my bold take is that he'll help get them back to a bowl game, and that they'll upset Washington in Week 4. With how horrific Iowa's offensive system has been over the last few years, the statement I'm about to make might be the most bold take on this list. I think that Cade McNamara could pass for over 2,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. Yeah, that is incredibly bold with how difficult it is to put up those kind of numbers in that offense. At times, Spencer Petras has looked like the worst starting quarterback in college football, but who knows how much of that is on him and how much of that is on the offense. But this year, Cade McNamara comes in from Michigan, and with nearly 2 years of starting experience for them, my bold take is that he actually leads this offense well and starts to put up some decent numbers despite the odds being stacked against him. With all these recent reports of Talia Tungavaloa getting offered over $1 million to transfer an SEC school, my bold take is that he helps them win 9 games, and while I don't have them winning against Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan, I think that Talia has a chance to lead them to upset wins on the road against Michigan State and Nebraska, and beat Illinois and Virginia at home. While Maryland did lose their top 3 receivers, there seemingly is a lot of hype for them, and why not roll the dice and go bold and say that Talia finally leads them to 9 wins and then gets drafted. Last year, Illinois had a breakout season and had some of the most exciting players in college football. You had a top 5 pick in Devon Witherspoon, arguably a top 3 running back in the country in Chase Brown, and then one of my favorite coaches, Brett Bielema. The Illini totally broke out last year and almost beat Michigan in Ann Arbor, but the dominoes didn't fall their way and they didn't win the West. My bold take is that they finished second in the West behind Wisconsin and upset Penn State in Week 3. This will be Penn State's first road test of the season, and after what happened in 2021 with the 9 overtime game, I think this will be a close and really exciting game, and Illinois will pull off the upset and eventually finish second. That's my bold take for the Illini. Now we get to the big 3 and the best 3 teams left in the conference, and the first one we're going to talk about is Ohio State. Obviously at this point, this is somewhat of a joke, as I obviously don't actually believe every bold take I'm saying, but for the sake of the video, my bold take is that somehow Ohio State goes 10-2 with losses to Michigan and Wisconsin, and Ryan Day gets fired. I know everyone will be screaming in the comment section below that Day would never get fired, but if he were to somehow lose 3 straight years to Michigan and regress each and every season, then maybe the Ohio State administration would pull the plug on him. Again, I highly doubt it, but that is why this is a bold take. If somehow the Buckeyes went 10-2 and Day got fired, that would be absolutely nuts. Moving over to Penn State, there is a lot of hype around this team. They have the second best running back duo in the country in Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, and they have a quarterback who's getting an unbelievable amount of hype in second-year guy Drew Allar. Combining that with a terrific defense, a great offensive line, and a ton of experience, Penn State looks like this year's sneaky team to make a playoff run. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to go into Ohio State and win in the shoe, and I also don't know if they'll be able to take care of Michigan at home yet. But my bold take for them is that Drew Allar becomes the best quarterback in the Big Ten. While some will definitely argue J.J. McCarthy or Kyle McCord, I think we can all agree Allar has the highest ceiling of those 3, and does that mean he'll actually live up to it? I don't know. But Allar could be the best Penn State quarterback we've ever seen, and let's just go bold and say that he becomes the best quarterback in the Big Ten. I don't know what will happen, but the last bold take is from Michigan. The Wolverines have been getting closer and closer to a national championship, and this year I'm going to go completely bold and say that they not only beat Ohio State for the 3rd straight year, but they win the Big Ten East and win the national championship. Jim Harbaugh has a terrific system, they have 2 tremendous star running backs, a really good quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, and they've just been getting closer and closer. Could this finally be the year that Michigan puts it all together? I don't know, but that is my bold take, that they win the East and win the national championship. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'm sure if you're a fan of half these schools, you're probably upset right now, so be sure to let me know what I got right and wrong down below. Give me your Big Ten bold prediction, and let me know if I should do more videos like this, or what topic I should cover before the college football season starts. Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.